Hello to the chicos and the chicas. Sad day. The day has come when the London system has entered the history of World Championship matches. This is the first time that the London was played. As Anish Giri very aptly observed, chess has never been as low as it is before, and many similar jokes have been already cracked, so I'm going to spare you from all of those. Suffice to say that despite the London, we had easily the game of the match so far, hands down, by far the most exciting, most strategically deep, entertaining, challenging, competitive match, or rather game, of the match. So yeah, I will have to put my misgivings away about the London and admire Ding Liren and his incredible technique with which he conducted this game. Just wow. So let's go. Let's have a look at what happened in this London system. We have followed some London theory, which in itself is an oxymoron, but forget about those jokes once again. And I'm just gonna skip pretty much the meaningless parts, the London, and I will come to this point in the game where H6 was played. I think this was a bit lackluster, but okay, we'll let this slide. Everyone knows that this move is played in order to meet knight h4 with bishop h7. But after knight e5, this position started to become a little bit awkward, and I very much would like to second Anish Giri, who said multiple times during his commentary that when you have the bar, it's easy to be smart. When you don't, it's not so simple. And this position, which by the way features for the second time the Carlsbad structure, except now with the reverse colors, yeah, it's not so simple to prove that it's draw. You look at the engine and the eval bar, and it is going to give you as many zeros as there is in the book, but that is meaningless. You need to play moves. And those moves are not so easy. The momentum of the game is already on white's side. It really does feel like it's a position that it is a lot easier to play with white. And indeed, that was the theme throughout the game. And a few inaccuracies led to some really exciting positional play in the early middle game. So let's have a look at that. A4 was played, a really cunning move. Traditionally, what we learned first about this pawn structure, the Carlsbad structure, is that black is doing the minority attack and we shouldn't be moving pawns. But modern theory and engines have proven this thesis entirely wrong, and very often white lunges forward with that a pawn, often all the way to a5, God forbid to a6, and on the odd day we even can create counterplay on the queen side as well. And that was exactly what happened in this game after this very unfortunate a6 move. I would like to stress that the engine doesn't disapprove it. Anish did condemn this move big time and blamed a lot of things on it. And in hindsight, of course, he was correct in the sense that it is easy to see for a human that after a5, now we have got this super thematic b4, knight b3, knight c5 plan, cementing that knight in on c5. That is not a happy camper, not a happy day at all. And the engine will give you stuff like, oh yeah, knight c8, knight b3, knight d6, knight c5, queen c7, and this is more or less equal. Yeah, nah. I would not want to be black here because I would not feel comfortable at all. And by the way, the engine's eval also tends to change with it. Long story short, I think Jan might have been a little bit guilty of underestimating the resulting middle games from the London, thinking that he was just gonna wing it. And boy, did he get burnt for it big time. So queen c7 was played, queen f3 was played, and for the time being, we're just playing moves. Nothing is happening, no one has a clear-cut strategy. Apart from white wanting to chuck a knight on c5, the rest is very vague. But that is definitely the main theme of the game, and note how the a5 pawn is beautifully blockading. Actually, I should make it, if only I knew how, to green. These two guys. And so once a knight appears on c5, it is going to very successfully attack those weak parts. Rook a3 was played. This was a bit of a preparatory measure. Occasionally b4 can come before the knight comes to c5 and the rook guards the pawn from the side. As soon as I saw this move during the game, it made me smile because it is just one of those things that every time I see a Super GM play a move like this, it always looks so cool, and it's immediately justified by those things that I just said. Anytime I play that move, I can guarantee you that later in that game, I will have to regret my decision and walk back and back with my tail between my legs and regret the rook sortie. But yeah, I guess I'm a few hundred rating points shy of being on that level. Knight b3, knight c6, and queen g3. Another little squeeze there that really hurts. No one wants to play this endgame. Yes, it may look equal in terms of wood on the board, but there is a lot more to chess than counting the dudes. And boy, this knight on c5, rook b3, other rook coming to a1 first, and then rook b3 pressuring this, then rook b6 penetration, then b4, b5. It is a nightmare, especially for a dynamic player like Jan. To try to hold an endgame like this is no bueno. Definitely not. And at this point, I also do think that he hasn't, or rather hadn't come to terms with the fact that he was looking at a very unpleasant defense and having to be on the back foot for the rest of the game. Knight h4 was played. Another absolute marvel. A move that so many people would overlook. These are one of those little improving moves that, you know, separate grandmasters from everyone below. That right now, I could jump into c5, but there is no hurry. And black is just getting cooked alive. They have nothing to do. It is so difficult to see how black in this position can improve on any of their pieces. And so sure enough, we don't rush the plan, we just let them suffer in that miserable situation of what to do, what to play for. I mean, nothing says more about the position than the fact that the engine's top choice here is bishop h7. I mean, if that's not a meaningless move, I don't know what is. Rook e8 was played, obviously trying to support an e5 break, which indeed did come into game, but this is not going to change the landscape too much. If anything, it allowed Ding to now have a full-on attack in every segment of the board. Starting with rook b3, knight, whoopsie daisy, that was the wrong button, sozy. I have never done that before. So yeah, rook b3 was played, allowing black to capture a5, but taking on e5. Now, needless to say that that's a quality trade. Now, d5 is rather weak. Queen f6, rook a3 back, knight c4, takes, and again, a good time to stop. So what's happening now is that the white pieces are getting ridiculously active, but the black pieces mobilize quite well too. So now after h5, tada, the earlier h4 is already yielding benefit and dividends. Now white is a pawn to the good, but all of a sudden, the black heavies will become quite active, in particular the queen, but the rook may potentially join the party as well. So at this point, Ding had to be very precise about how to finish the business off. For example, knight e8 is a very tempting option here, but the main motive now with the queen on b2 is that if this queen goes too far away and gets excited about mating here, then all of a sudden here comes the black queen to reign on our parade, and the very well-known stock standard checkmating perpetual checking pattern is going to occur with an unfortunate draw from white's perspective. So it's easy still to go wrong. Knight a5 was played. King h7. Of course, in this position, queen takes c3 is not doable, because now knight h5 is going to change, knight e8, excuse me, is going to change the game. Woo! There was a motive here that I wanted to show you. This was sheer insanity. In this position, after h5, Jan played the obvious looking bishop c2, but in fact here there was a very interesting tactical idea with rook takes, pawn takes, and queen d8. The engine came up with this motive, and boy, is it something absolutely something else. Beautiful geometry, by the way, that after h takes g6 comes check, here check, and you go like, yeah, but now we have the block. Yeah, but when we do, that's when we complete this geometrical, I don't even know, picturesque walkabout with the queen, and all of a sudden black is on top, or at least no worries, this shouldn't be a worse position. So that was an extremely beautiful, very difficult motive to spot. Take, queen d8, trying to exploit the weak back rank. And because of the back rank check is on, if I pull back, of course, then the h5 pawn is good to be captured. So, yeah, perhaps rook e5. Yeah, queen e5. This was actually Jan's chance to draw, but he missed it. And once again, now things are getting dicey. And after king h7, the rest of the game is nothing short of a marvelous masterclass of, once again, strategy and attack, just like we saw it in the previous game. It's unbelievable how the roles reverse. Now it is Ding Liren who is engineering an absolutely amazing checkmating formation based on the immense activity of his pieces and the immense cooperation among those pieces. You can see a stark difference between the two armies in that the white pieces are beautifully working together, whereas the black pieces are scattered all over the board. Queen c1 check was played. Queen c3, according to the engine, was the last chance to stay in the game, but after rook c7 for a human, it just looks like it's time to call it a day. Jan went with queen c1 check and then f6, queen g3 and a5. And at this point, it does look like he has a lot of counterplay. Side pawns, when they start running, are nightmares. But here, the piece cooperation is the decisive feature. We go knight e3, pulling the knight back, hitting this way, hitting that way. And equally importantly, now we are good to go to c7. And now the mate patterns and the mate attacks are going to reveal themselves to us. Rook g8 is forced, knight d5. Now we have got an absolutely fabulous Matutsky threatened. I will show you that. a3. Knight f7 check here, and mate is incoming. Now that is worth to live a life for, to finish a world championship match like that. Of course, Jan was not one to blunder such things, so he pulled the king back to h8. Knight e7 was the engine's favorite move, but Ding Liren came up with the move that eventually became the engine's favorite. An absolute marvel. What you notice here is that you are forcing the pawn to move forward. So you go like, why would you do that? And it turns out that although the pawn can go to a2, but then it won't be able to progress on. And if you move the bishop, the pawn drops. So yeah, knight e7, rook f8, and d5. The commentators here were looking at queen d6, if I'm not mistaken. But d5, hands down, the move of the match so far. And the reason for that is because it is so difficult at first sight to grasp the purpose of the move. It's not to push the pawn in. It has nothing to do whatsoever with rolling this pawn and get a new queen. Nay, friends, this is part of a most cunning checkmate net. Check this out. a2, queen c7. Now the check on g6 is actually a mate threat on g7. Therefore, king here is forced. And here comes the absolutely stunning finish. Knight g6, rook g8, and just when you would think that black is perfectly safe and secured, there comes the cold shower, queen f7, and now no matter what black does, I will play queen g5 for argument's sake. Here comes the grand finale. Check, takes, check, king f7, rook f8, and ta-da! Now we understand the genius behind d5. It's covering the e6 escape square. Take a bow, Ding Liren. What a game, man. What an absolute delightful, awesome, strategic attacking masterpiece. That was absolutely fabulous. I wish it happened in a different opening. Never mind. Yeah. Ladies and gents, after 6 games, we are back on level score. No one knows what's going to happen for the rest. What is for sure is that we have... I don't think we have ever seen this many decisive games in the first 6 games of a World Championship match. And for sure, that definitely keeps us on our toes. Tomorrow is going to be a rest day, and I will be back with the recap of this... round 7 the day after. So thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to sub, to like, to super thank me if you can, and I will be seeing you in the next video soon. Bye.